All right, next on the docket in Athlon Magazine, we got Ole Miss. And this is a team, Stephen, I cannot put my finger on for the life of me with the turnovers there. The portal king there, Lane Kiffin, adding players left and right. They should have plenty of talent. They really need to, hope. I think Jackson Dart, I've watched him. He's got massive potential, but we don't even know if he's going to be the quarterback. I love Michael Trigg, the tight end. I think Zach Evans, I don't think he's quite lived up to the hype, but I think in this offense, I think he will.
I agree with you.
What's your makeup of Ole Miss this year?
The grand experiment in college football, right? Because it's going on at USC. It's the transfer portal. You and I have talked about it. Is how fast can you replace elite players through the portal to try to maintain your place in college football?
Mm-hmm.
Because Ole Miss won 10 games last year. It's for the first time in the regular season,
right.
and so you're replacing Matt Corral, replacing some of the other players. It would be hard in a normal year.
Mm-hmm.
It's even more difficult when you brought in all these transfers and you lost both your coordinators and you're trying to figure out how it all kind of meshes together. So I think from an intrigue level, I'm very fascinated just to see what happens here because we've never seen this level of, transfers being brought in to put together a roster. So there's already that level of fascination, but the transfers they brought in are high level impact transfers. I think Zach Evans and Ulysses Bentley, the transfer from SMU, that's a good 1-2 punch.
Mm-hmm.
Jalen Robinson, Jordan Watkins at receiver. Like, they've reloaded almost every position that they lost, they've added. And it really comes down to quarterback play. Like, is Jackson Dart the guy or is it Luke Altmaier? I think Altmaier is, I think, depending on who you listen to or who you talk to, the gap was either closed or they're close together exiting the spring. I think Jackson Dart is the guy with the most upside, and probably if Ole Miss wants to get back to 10 wins, he probably needs to be their quarterback this season to try to reach that level.
Yeah, and if I'm an Ole Miss fan, I look at Kiffin's history when he was at Alabama. Of course, we all know. I mean, they would go from Derrick Henry running 500 times a game to centering the offense around Amari Cooper, was one of the best receivers we've ever seen in the SEC. But that was a single offseason they made that switch. He comes into Ole Miss during a COVID year. He's talking about what a nightmare this COVID is, which I'm sure it was, but that offense was incredible right out the gate. And then, of course, last year, the record-setting season. So if there's anyone that is going to take all these moving pieces and make them fit, I think it's going to be Lane Kiffin. But the season may not depend on this offense because we got confidence that they got the pieces, they got the coaches. They lost DJ Durkin. That's a huge blow. They lost their special teams coordinator, I believe, to Texas. So we've got some moving pieces on that side of the ball. How big of a loss do you think that is, losing DJ Durkin, who that defense really carried the team late last year?
Yeah, it was huge. I think they were gave up 14 fewer points a game last year compared to 2020. And of course, Durkin getting hired at Texas A&M is good for Texas A&M's defense, not so good for Ole Miss. I think the good news for Ole Miss is that continuity. They just promoted from within, the same scheme. It's not a huge change. I think there are a lot of question marks about this group. I like the transfers they brought in at every level. It sort of fortifies some of the question marks that they have. I think they'll miss Sam Williams and the pass rush that he had last year off the edge. So I think I don't doubt Kiffin and Ole Miss and the ability to score points. I think that the defense probably may not, last year giving up about 24, 25 points a game, probably either could have trouble replicating that or may not be as good as last year. And that may play into why, we have them at, 8-4, kind of middle of the pack in the SEC West.
Now, is there an SEC game here that you could see that, at LSU will be incredibly tough, at A&M, Alabama at home, at Arkansas? I don't know if those will be upsets considered or not, but if let's assume Ole Miss is underdog in all those games. I'm not sitting here saying they will be, but if they were to pull an outright upset over that 4-game stretch at LSU, at A&M, Alabama at home, at Arkansas, my goodness, I don't envy that schedule. Yeah. But if they were to pull the upset in one of those games, which do you think is most likely?
Probably LSU. I think because we've talked about how volatile LSU is, and if the passing game with Jackson Dart and some of those receivers are clicking, I like the Ole Miss offensive line they have coming back too. So you could see how a Ole Miss offense firing on all cylinders, going up
Mhm.
against a rebuild LSU secondary, maybe doesn't come together all the way by that point of the season, could be really tough for LSU. So I would say LSU. I also think, too, when you start looking at the West, one reason to like it, Ole Miss is Kentucky at home and at
Mhm.
Vanderbilt in crossover play, and then getting Mississippi State at home. So the schedule really breaks in their favor this year
Yeah,
with
no
all the
doubt.
turnover.
Right out the gate, Troy, Central Arkansas, at Georgia Tech, Tulsa, Kentucky, at Vanderbilt, Auburn. I mean, if you're not 6-1, you're disappointed, I feel like.
Yeah, they could be undefeated going
Right.
into that game against LSU at that point.
Exactly. So, hey, there's reason for optimism there in
Yeah.
Oxford, no doubt. So, all right, so last